Okay, guys, we're going to go over some vocabulary just to make sure you understand all the different vocabulary words. Genotype versus phenotype. A genotype is the set of genes that is carried in an organism, and the genotype determines the phenotype. So a phenotype is all of the observable characteristics that you can see in a person. So the shape of their nose, freckles or no freckles, dimples or no dimples, everything that the person that you can physically see on the person is the phenotype, and that is determined by the genotype. Okay. Dominant versus recessive. A dominant allele is a capital letter, first of all, and it produces dominant phenotype. So when you have all of these different situations right here, we have one capital, one lowercase, one capital, one lowercase, two capitals. These are all going to produce dominant phenotypes. So you only have to have one copy of the dominant allele in order to have a dominant phenotype. Okay? In order to have a recessive phenotype, that means that you would have to have two copies of the allele, one from each parent. So you have two lowercase recessive alleles. That means you're going to have a recessive phenotype. So in order to have a recessive phenotype, you must have two copies of the allele. Homozygous, dominant, homozygous, you need to think that they are going to be the same. So they're both capital. Homozygous, like I said, remains the same, and dominant, you know, is going to show a dominant phenotype. So as you can see, homozygous is going to be where it has two copies of the same dominant allele. So if you look at the examples, we have two capital R's, two capital T's, two capital W's. So when you see homozygous, you need to think same, and dominant, you need to think capital. Homozygous recessive is going to be where you have two of the same recessive alleles. So once again, homozygous means same, so two lowercase. And recessive, you need to think of the two lowercase alleles. And that is what homozygous recessive means. Heterozygous, you need to think different. So organism has two different alleles of the gene. So that's going to be one dominant, one recessive. So as you can tell all by the examples, you have a capital and you have a lowercase. But whenever you see heterozygous, you need to remember that the dominant gene, the capital letter, always masks the recessive. So that means that the dominant gene is always going to be the one that is present in the phenotype. The recessive is just going to be carried on.